Blue skies, blue sea.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be talking about David Silva and whether or not he's the greatest midfielder who's ever played in the Premier League. Hold on, I know you guys are thinking, greatest midfielder? David Silva? What about people like Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Paul Scholes? What about all those legends I know you're going to say? But I'm going to try and make this argument and see what you guys think at the end, because I definitely feel like David Silva has been the lost man, the forgotten man, which no one ever talks about. It feels like because he doesn't have the nostalgia factor, like all these great legends which have come before him, people have just forgotten how good he's been in the last decade. Hopefully, today's that day where you guys finally listen. Yes, finally listen.
You will listen when you are dead. You will listen when you are dead.
Silva is definitely one of the greatest midfielders who have played in the game of football in the Premier League. The reason everyone sees players like Mkhitaryan, Mata, Oscar, even Kagawa, they're all replicas of David Silva, obviously poorer versions, but they try to replicate what he's done because David Silva has revolutionized the number 10 position. Before going into this video, you know I'm going to say, hit that big subscribe button right there because I'm nearly at 300 subscribers.
Next!
So the expectations when David Silva first came into the Premier League, yeah? So we guys have to go back, way back here, when Man City went through the glory hunters and they were finishing 15th, 16th. Before when Man City were dead, the rich Arab owners came in and bought that team and injected that side with so much money, which allowed them to sign the likes of Aguero, Silva, Yaya Toure, etc, etc. So all these world-class players were coming into the club, trying, in a sense, to replicate what Man United have been doing in the last 20 to 30 years and catch up to their greatness. And Silva was part of the core reasons why Man City finally became the noisy neighbours, which Man United fans have been irritated for the last 8 to 10 years because they're the team which have been winning all the leagues in the last decade, and Man United have not had a sniff at the league for the last 7 to 8 years. Although I didn't know the genuine feeling about Man City, I did know David Silva, and I know he was a top talent at Valencia before he joined Man City. However, I cannot lie, I did not believe he was going to do what he's done now, because his game was predicated on being small, nimble, quick, float around in good spaces. But if you guys don't remember, 10 to 12 years ago, in order to be a top-class midfielder in the Premier League, you had to be versatile, you had to be strong, big, fast, quick, box-to-box midfielder, which David Silva isn't. And I know we've seen it with flashes with players like Zola and De Canio. And as talented as those midfielders were, they will never be established and granted as one of the greatest midfielders who played the game of football in the Premier League. And it was really peak for David Silva when he first arrived, because I was really thinking, this league is built upon strength. Teams which played long balls, long throw-ins were successful. Teams like Stoke, Bolton, West Ham, ugly teams. Teams which really didn't want to play on the ground, who used their physicality to make up for their lack of football talent. Like, I can't lie, like, in my head, yeah, all those players back in the day who played for Stoke, like Charlie Adams, had no teeth. In my image, it's just ingrained of just like, yeah, like, I was really thinking, could David Silva do it on a rainy day in Stoke? But in the last 10 years, he's proved that small, quick players can thrive in this league, and it was truly a David Silva v Goliath story.
Think about it.
So in terms of his performance, I can't lie, I probably have to give it a 10 out of 10. No question. He has been the best player in the Premier League last decade. And the thing is, what's more impressive than his talent itself is his consistency. Imagine a Mesut Ozil, a La Liga winner, a World Cup champion, who we know on his day is one of the best midfielders in this world. Imagine that, but consistent. That's what David Silva is. His subtle quickness and movement to drop into pockets of space, to provide those through decisive balls into the attacker themselves to score all the goals. Why do you think Aguero has 180 to 188 goals in the Premier League history? And the way I would like to describe him, man, he's just a true magician. And even if those CDMs and centre-backs have those trap cards, they cannot activate them because I feel like he's the gate to all of them. You cannot do anything to stop him. And what I like to refer to David Silva is as the postman, because he always delivers in the big games and even the small games. And just to extend this metaphor, he delivers in the smallest of spaces, like pin pockets those passes in the tightest of room, just like you would do into a letterbox. He has been so great that teams have literally planned a game plan against him to make it a 10v10 game. They've literally tried to man mark him to stop his brilliance from hurting their team. I would literally see players like Herrera literally man mark him, forget about the game of football, literally look at David Silva and literally try to take him out the game. The only thing which I feel like I can criticize him, which hasn't been his fault, is that he has been injury prone. But even then, he has come back stronger and better than ever. Like even this season, at the age of 33, 34, you would still describe him as one of the best midfielders in this league today. And in this part of the video, I usually talk about the system and the formation he's been playing in. And I can't lie, like I always say, his performance has been a 10 out of 10. Because he has proven that he is a jack of all trades, a jack of all traits. A jack here, he's a jack here. He has proved, unlike Ozil, that he's able to adapt in many systems. Just like how James Milner gets all that credit, rightfully so, for playing right back one day, left back the other day, CDM, Cam. We have to talk about David Silva in that light as well, and I'll explain it right now. So back in the title winning days of Mancini, the first time when it was the
Aguero!
Man City played a 4-2-3-1 system. Silva played a role as a LAM, and he caused havoc that season, the 2011-2012 season, because he was not playing as an out-and-out winger. He was literally drifting, flowing in spaces between the defence and the midfield of the opposing team, and literally play those through balls into Aguero or Balotelli. And the fact that he was playing as a LAM confused the fullbacks and the CDMs on who's going to pick him up, because he's not like he's staying at the touchline, is he? For a right back to be like, okay, that's my opponent, like Raheem Sterling plays out wide. He's always floating in spaces, which causes the defence confusion on who's supposed to pick him up. And this creativity and trickery not only won him the Premier League, but won him the assist reward of the most assists in the Premier League that season. And the point I want to make, that 4-2-3-1 system became popularised because of that Man City side, in my opinion, because teams weren't playing that before. If you saw the great United sides back in the day, Andy Cole, Dwight York, Rooney, Tevez, Berbatov, Rooney, Anelka, Drogba at Chelsea, all these teams were playing 4-4-2 until Man City started introducing this 4-2-3-1. And that's where you saw the likes of Man United change to a 4-2-3-1, the influence of Kagawa, who was not that great of a player when all United fans were gassing him, but that's not the point. Oscar at Chelsea, Mata at Chelsea, who was actually a tremendous player when he was playing at Chelsea. And all these big teams tried to replicate what Man City were doing with David Silva. And then after Mancini, when Pellegrini became the manager, Pellegrini has a preference of playing a 4-4-2 system. So it allowed him to play Dzeko and Aguero up front, or Aguero and Wilfred Bony at the time. So that forced David Silva to play in the left midfield, which gave him more defensive responsibility, which typically you would not want a number 10 usually to have. But he had to play this role to accommodate the team's needs. And even through this defensive responsibility, which he performed at an excellent rate, he still was able to cause havoc between the lines, and he was able to float around in pivotal areas to orchestrate the attack. And in that title season win in 13-14, yes, when Gerrard slipped that season, yeah.
I see your true colors.
Yeah, that season, he was one of the pivotal reasons why Man City won the league, and he finished third in assists that season as well. And even after Pellegrini, when we saw him under Pep Guardiola in the last 3 years, he's had to transform his game from a winger to become in a 4-3-3 system where he's one of the central midfielders and playing as a box-to-box midfielder. He's had to become more mobile, like players like Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira back in the day had to be, when they had to run back and forth, obviously in a harder situation when it was a 4-4-2. But if you had said to me 8 to 10 years ago, yeah, David Silva will be playing as a box-to-box midfielder, orchestrating the high press at the age of 31 to 32, still at a high level, I would have laughed at you. So his ability to play in any system has been absolutely tremendous, and people need to give him the credit he deserves. So I want everyone just to deep for a second, just deep for a second. So in terms of his trophies, I would have to give it 8 to 8.5 out of 10. For obvious reasons, he hasn't won the Champions League, but even if you see his international side, he's won the World Cup, 2 Euros, where do we see that at? But in terms of everything else, he has literally won everything. Look at him. He's won 4 Premier Leagues. Frank Lampard has won 3. Gerrard has won a big fat 0. And even if you're going to compare his assist total to someone like Gerrard or Lampard, Silva has played 304 games, 90 assists. Gerrard has played 504 games, 92 assists. And even Frank Lampard, who's pretty much double the amount of games Silva's played in the Premier League, only has 12 more assists than David Silva. And it's absolutely disgraceful that David Silva has only been 2 PFA Team of the Year in the last 10 years. I just feel like it's the Messi Ronaldo effect. When you're so great at such a consistent rate, people will just look over you, bypass you. But if I had to rank him in terms of all-time great midfielders who's played in the Premier League, drum roll please, I would rank him number 5. He is definitely in my top 5. So if you guys know my top 5 in no particular order, because I do not want to have an argument about that. But Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes, and it's either Roy Keane or Patrick Vieira and David Silva. And if I was going to build an all-time Premier League team and it was a 4-3-3 system, David Silva has to start. And the sole reason is because players like Patrick Vieira, Roy Keane did the same job. And players like Gerrard and Lampard somewhat did the same job as well. I always heard that myth in England back in 2006, 2010. Can Gerrard and Lampard play together? The fact that David Silva is his own unique player and we have not seen it at such a high level allows him to be in my team of the top players who've ever played in the Premier League. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And yeah, if you guys disagree with me, like I always say, let me know in the comments. So peace out. See you in the next video.